there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today we're going to take a look at the Paul Rubens Watercolor Floral Pan Set that they have just released. This was sent to me for free from Paul Rubens. I have in the past received other sets from Paul Rubens for free, and I have purchased sets from Paul Rubens for myself and for gifts. So I just wanted to get all that out there just so you know, and I will be using affiliate links in the post, so if you do purchase something after clicking one of my links, I can earn a small commission on that. But please don't feel obligated to do so, because I do these reviews so you can decide whether something is for you or not, and people that are watercolor curious or just curious about what else is out there on the market can learn without having to buy and try for themselves. So this is a set that is designed for floral painters. It comes in a chipboard box, and if you recognize this kind of lavender color, this branding, and this painting, you may remember that a few years ago they released a tube set in the same colorway, and I loved the tube set. So when they said they were coming out with a pan set of the same colors, I was really excited, and I might have been a little bit more excited than I should be, and I really had to temper that bias because I love the tube set of these colors so much that for a while there I was kind of not feeling so hot about these. So let's see what you get in the box. You've got the box. These are really great, even if you don't like to store your palettes in them, to use them for like drawer dividers. So if you order a Paul Rubens product, they always come in these nice boxes. Don't throw away the box. Use them for dividing up your shallow drawers. I like to use those plastic drawers you can get from Staples or Home Depot. They're like, you know, the 6 shallow drawers. I don't know, they go on sale at back to school time for like under 20 bucks a lot of times. Those are so good for craft supply storage and office supply storage, and these are great for dividers. It comes with a swatch card, and I think this is cotton paper. And on the swatch card, you have pigment information. You also have pigment information on the pans themselves, and the pans actually are, let me find the swatch for this one. I have so many swatches out here right now. Let me find the swatch for this one so I can show you right here. The swatches have sticky tabs on the sides, so you can actually just stick it down to your paper if you want to swatch under them. I like to do that because then I have the color number, the color name, and the pigment information, and I just keep that in my big swatch binder of records. And we'll go over this a little bit more. I didn't swatch on camera this time because I've done quite a few swatching on camera videos lately, and I thought it was more useful to compare these against the other sets for those of you that already have some of the other sets, to decide whether you want to add this to yours or whether you might choose a different set instead if you were thinking about picking up this line of paints. But it does have an included swatch, which is really nice. Now I make one that will go into my box in the order that the paints come, because these are technically in the order they come in, but if you tip it this way, they're like, you can't have it so the way they're listed, they're like one row will be like opposite the way they look on your page. Anyway, that's that. You get a brochure that has a swatch of all of the ones that they offer, all the colors that they offer in the line. Now, you would be hard-pressed to find all these in America, but I believe you can order open stock pans and tubes on AliExpress, and there's probably other websites as well. That's the only one I know of. So there are more than 48 colors in the line. I was comparing this against the 48 set. There are some colors that are not in the 48 set here, so yeah, we'll go over all of that. So you get that information. I'm not sure how many colors are in the range, but there are quite a few. And honestly, overall, I haven't been disappointed with the Paul Rubens product. I don't think some of their more Eastern sets don't appeal to me as much, but yeah, I've got reviews on a lot of those different products. We have the microfiber cloth, which does have a different texture than the other ones. It's a little bit more felty than eyeglass cleaning cloth. And honestly, I've got so many of these, I do use them to blot my brush. I haven't on this one, obviously, because it's brand new, but and I'll just wring it out, let it dry, and keep using it. I think that this is probably here just to kind of polish the tin, but I don't know. I'm not that fancy. I'm not polishing my tin. But again, it's kind of nice if you're giving it as a gift, because it does have a nice presentation, but it works fine to dry your brush on, too, and I don't know. I know it's fancy. You might not want to do that, but I do. Here we have the metal tin. It's got the palette insert here. You can take that out from a mixing space. You've seen these a million times, I'm sure. The tin will stain a little bit. You can see there. You could clean that up with soap and water. There's a couple little scratches, which isn't great on these tins because if water it will rust out. These are steel tins. The magnets will stick to them, which is great if you have a palette that has a magnet on it that you want to use with it, but not great if you get water on any raw metal because then it could rust. There's no beading up on the palette. I didn't clean my palette after the last painting I did, just so you could see that the paint does spread really nicely. I didn't do anything to pre-treat the palette. It was ready to go right out of the gate. And here you can kind of see their typical half pan size pans, maybe just a little bit larger than say a Winsor & Newton or Schmincke pan, maybe just a little titch bigger. So if you want to take these out and put them in another standard tin, I think they'll fit, but they might be a little tight because the pans are a little bit, they're still half pans, but they're just a little bit more stout, I would say. But yeah, I mean, no qualms there with the pan. I noticed this flap here wants to tip up, so you might need to manhandle it a little bit and bend it back. But then again, that might be just this particular palette. This does lay nice and flat, and this, will be flat if you just press it down a little bit. I don't think that's going to hurt anything. But I did notice, is that a scratch or is that just paint? That's just paint I got in there. So yeah, just that one little scratch there. That's pretty unusual that we get a scratch on a Paul Rubens palette, but I thought I'd mention it since it's there. All right, so now let's look at some of the artwork that I did. I actually think the last painting I did with these, and I just did it today, is the best one that I did for this, to showcase these colors. I'm just going to move that light a little bit because sometimes I feel that it blinds the paper a little bit. I was painting a white rose, actually, from a photo I took on Monhegan yesterday, and I think I'll post a video of this because I did film it. The camera shut off once, so hopefully I didn't miss anything too important. But I was kind of unsure about a couple colors in here, and I really want to see how they did in a floral application. Mainly, it's this peach light because it's really very granular. And on this paper, I use cellulose paper to do my swatching for every watercolor I review. I review lots of paint, so this keeps it consistent. And it will also make any sort of like grittiness or scaliness or granulation, things like that. It'll make it show up really evident. So that way I won't be fooled by swatching on a cotton paper and having everything look all fine and cherry wine, and then you go and do a painting and it's a big hot mess. So by swatching consistently on a cellulose paper, I really can see any of the flaws in the paint. So this one had a lot of granulation, and I know opera pink can granulate sometimes, but I was like, oh, I don't know, that's looking a little bit scaly, and I was a little nervous about that one. And then there's a few other granulating colors. This lavender granulates, the cobalt teal, or turquoise light granulates, which is a cobalt teal color. And there is a ultramarine, it does granulate, it's not super duper granulating, but I was really nervous about that. I'm like, you're going to use pink a lot, do you want a granulating pink? Especially if you want to do a lot of layering, and I was kind of thinking that might be an issue. Transparency wise, they're all pretty transparent. One thing I thought was kind of strange on the sea blue, if I tip that, can you see, not only is it a little bit shiny, but it's almost got a metallic oil slick appearance there, and I'm not sure what that is. And I was noticing on the pan as well. Oops, that's the old tube set. I'm going to show you that. I'll compare that too, but there's so many palettes out here. You can see it here, and I don't know what causes that. And I was Googling it. I swear Google and the other search engines have gotten worse lately. Has anybody else noticed that? I'm searching very specific things and nothing's coming up. I feel like I need to get ChatGPT and like type in a question. But I want to research it and find the sources and read about it, But anyways, look at that. That's something, I have seen that effect on my Viviva color sheets, which is a dye-based product, and I'm wondering if there may be something other than the paint. Now, I can't accuse the paint company of doing that, but that's weird. This is a phthalo blue pigment, PB15:3, and I know phthalo is very similar to a dye with the fact it stains. That pigment is a little bit more dye-like, but it's got that weird almost AB shine to it. And so does the dioxazine violet to a small extent, almost a bronzing look to it. And you see it in mass tone, and so that was kind of making me think, like, I don't know, have they changed the formula? Because this does not, I mean, every once in a while you get a shiny paint when you paint really thick, but that just, to me, seemed a little bit strange. You can kind of see that the yellow bronzy look there and the almost like oil slick look there. So I was feeling a little bit weird about this paint, and then the fact that the earth tones were being were very weak, and I had to go and compare this with my swatch from the other set that was the tube set of florals, because the tube set of florals I found to be much more robust. Like the Van Dyke Brown, for instance, Van Dyke Brown's a completely different color in the tube set versus the pan set. Here, the burned brown and the Van Dyke Brown look so similar, and I was just not, I was not really liking this much. The burned brown look about the same there, but like the cypress brown was much richer in the tubes versus the pan, and this yellow sienna deep felt so weak. It was quite a challenge to get color up, and I did not find that with the tubes, even the tubes dried down. And then I was like, well, let me compare this with some older Paul Rubens I had. And I did compare it to my older Paul Rubens. I've got this set here that I just swatched on. I think this was Canson Montval. My earth tones were still quite robust. No shiny spots on some of the colors I painted really thick, but no weird shimmer. So I was like, oh, that's true. That's just sea blue right there. No weird shimmer. So then I was comparing it against the 48 set, because I thought I probably have most of the colors in the 48 set. There's actually several colors that are not in the 48 set. And the other thing that I want to mention is they appear to be the original formula. So it would be like version 1 of the Paul Rubens artist grade paints, not the version. They have so many versions out right now. They have, you know, 3rd, 4th generation, 5th generation, the next generation. I don't know. They have a lot of generations here, but these were the original Paul Rubens wrappers. So I compared the new song colors to the older colors. This color here is not in the 48 set, but the other earth tones are, and the other earth tones are much stronger. So that's Van Dyke Brown in the 48 set, and that's Van Dyke Brown. So that's still different than the tube, but this is just a smoother and stronger. And the Cypress Brown, maybe Cypress Brown isn't on here. Oh, maybe we don't get Cypress Brown in, I guess we don't get Cypress Brown in this one. That was in the other tube set. I gotta put a little heart on that too, just to make a note. But the Van Dyke Brown was there. The burned brown was there. And I just thought, why would you put 2 cool browns and no strong warm brown and no yellow ochre? So that was like the color. Some of the colors in here I was really kind of not crazy about. There's a pretty olive green, and I didn't have any trouble mixing greens, but I thought it was weird that they didn't have the tree green or the sap green, which is probably one of the prettiest greens, especially for botanicals. They have this phthalo green yellow shade. They call it emerald green light. That's not in the 48 set, and it's a fine mixer. And there's this lavender that's not in the 48 set, and there's this kind of, it's called peach light. It's kind of like an opera that's in the 48 set, and then there's this orange that's not in the 48 set. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 colors that are not in the 48 set if you have the 48 set and you want to expand. But I don't know. I wish they still offer the tubes. I'll have to double check, but I don't think they offer the tubes in this iteration, because those were great, but they did not last long. They sold out and they never restocked them for whatever reason. They were not around long. So there's our comparison there. Something I found though interesting in the peach light color, it uses a pigment called PR146, which is actually a naphthol red color, and I think there's got to be some sort of fluorescent dye to it. The granulation is beautiful, but it's not a color you see used that often, or a pigment you use very often. It looks like a typical opera rose or aurora pink that you see sometimes. And I thought the granulation was going to bother me, but when I did this painting here, I actually kind of liked it, but it is a really aggressive texture, and you might not want that in a botanical if you're doing a lot of glazing. I used it super watered down in an overall wash with cobalt teal. I used I think I used the lemon yellow, the permanent lemon yellow. I used, I think a little bit of indigo, and then after that dried, I went in and I glazed up with some other colors. And I do like how it looks, but that texture may not appeal to botanical artists, so I think it's really important to get that out there. If you wanted a granulating pink, I think you're going to like it, but if you didn't, then to have one of your main botanical colors being granulating, it might not be that great for you. And also that color is not a very light fast pigment. There is light fast information. Is it on here? It might be on the actual swatch that goes in the tin. Have I lost it already? I swear. I've got so many swatches out here. I know it's right here because we just looked at it like a second ago. But there is, you are provided with light fast information. Whether I can put my hands on it right now. Hold on, let me find it. That's going to bug me. All right, I found my swatch here. It's got pigment information, and maybe it has light fast information in Chinese, but I did not see in any of the packet information the light fast information in English. So what I did was I looked it up on Amazon, and there is light fast information on the Amazon listing, so you can look at that for free online before you decide if you want to buy these or not, so you can check out the light fastness. But let's just take a peek through the swatches here, and then we can get a pretty good idea about what's what. But on the Amazon listing, it is using the blue wool scale, so it doesn't say, I didn't even see a light fast key on there, but it's like a 1 to 8 star rating. Most things seem to be 5 stars and up. But in the blue wool scale, anything above a 5 can be considered light fast, but I would say 7 and 8 light fast, 6 moderate, 5 would be probably like a 3 in the ASTM. Just to kind of give you a heads up as far as comparing apples and oranges, so you know what you're going to get. But overall, I don't think this is terrible, but let's just go through the swatches here. So first, we've got Permanent Lemon, PY3, that's Hansa Yellow Light, and there is a little controversy about how light fast that color is. I think it used to be more light fast. Golden has done some independent testing on that pigment and determined that it has gotten less light fast over time. So do with it what you will. A lot of people are still calling this light fast. I still use it. I don't have a problem with it. I love that color. But if you wanted a more light fast option, you could do a cadmium lemon, but a lot of people want to avoid cadmium. So it just depends on what your priorities are and what you want to do with your painting. I'm not judging, I use cadmium colors. The next color is Permanent Yellow Medium, PY65. That is a tried and true color. The next color is Permanent Orange Yellow, and that's a mix of PO73 and PY74. And I believe that is those are both fairly stable pigments. We've got Indian Yellow, which is PY83, no problem there. Look how transparent that orange and yellow are, too. That's really nice. Nice, warm, transparent colors. A lot of times your warmer undertone colors tend to have a little bit more grit or a little bit more opacity to them and are more likely to mix mud. So if you start off with a nice, transparent, warm color in your set, you're going to have more success in mixing. Then we have Chinese Red, which is a gorgeous PR254, nice and transparent. That shouldn't have any problems. This color here, I had to look it up. Peach Light, which is in it, but it looks like an opera pink. The temperature. The pigment code is PR146, which is actually a naphthol red color. It's a naphthol pigment, and I love naphthol red. The only problem with naphthol is it does tend to be less light fast in watercolors. They use it more in acrylics or even sometimes in oils, but acrylics have a stronger binder, and the polymer emulsion actually provides a little bit of light protection, so it's less of a problem in other pigments. That's why sometimes you'll have an acrylic color that you don't see in watercolor because it's just too the binder in watercolor is not robust enough to protect it. Whereas if it was an oil, linseed oil, or an acrylic polymer, it's got more protection because all those little pigments are coated, and plus you're using it a lot thicker. And when you water things down, like I watered it down for this painting, it's going to really lose a lot of its protection because you've spread out those color molecules so much. So anyway, it's beautiful granulation if you love granulation. It looks scaly on this paper. It looks more granular here. It looks more randomized and granular here on this paper. So I don't know. I didn't know that to be a granulating pigment, so I'm not sure what's going on. But if you wanted a granulating pink, there you go. If you're going to use it on cellulose paper, you might want to think twice, but it's beautiful on cotton paper. And this is Hahnemuhl Cezanne paper that I made the sketchbook with. This color here, Rose Red, PB19, that's a tried and true color. I love it. I've loved this color in pretty much any brand. It looks a lot like Da Vinci's Rose Red, if you're familiar with that. The next color, PR122 Magenta. It's a tried and true color. There shouldn't be any problems there. Then we've got a PY150 Nickel Yellow, a nice, bright, Yellow, if you use it, if you thin it down, it leans more cool and green. If you use it thick, it leans more brown and warm. So it just depends on how you like to use it. It's a funny color how it does that. I don't use it that often because of that. Actually, it makes beautiful greens, but I wish this set had a yellow ochre. That's going to be probably my biggest turnoff, and the weak earth tones. Those are my two big cons with this set, I'm going to tell you right now. Lavender Violet, that's another granulator. It's a pretty color. I honestly don't use it too much. Actually, you know what? I did use it in my first initial wash because I thought, I'm using other granulators. Let's see what this looks like. Let's make it granulate as much as it's going to granulate. So if anybody doesn't like that effect, they can see it clearly and decide whether this is for them or not. It's your typical lavender mix of PB29, PV3. Oh, it's PV3. You know what? I was thinking they used a dioxazine violet for that, but using PV3 is going to make the purpley tones tend to fade more. So this might end up being more of like a light ultramarine or a mid ultramarine versus a lavender as time goes on. So just a word to the caution there. Here we have a permanent violet or a dioxazine violet, PV23. It's a stable color, but it's got this weird yellow reflection that happens in the mass tone. I think this effect is called bronzing, but generally you're not using your dioxazine that thick, but that's not normal, and that's a little strange. I'm not sure why. I don't know if they boosted this with some dye pigments, something different than you typically see, but it is something I see in my Viviva color sheets, and I mentioned that earlier. I think I mentioned it, maybe I didn't, but it's not something I really want to see in my paints personally. Then we've got Cobalt Blue, PB28. It's what you'd expect. Now that should granulate more than it appears to, so maybe if I got that in a really wet wash I'd get more granulation, but I'm not really seeing any there. Maybe it's mislabeled, maybe it's a hue instead of the real deal. I can't say, but I'm not seeing a lot of granulation, which is surprising for a Cobalt Blue. Then we have French Ultramarine, which is PB29, just as we would expect. I don't see any problems there, and that should be plenty light fast. Here's the other color with the weird bronzing effect. This is a Phthalo Blue, PB15:3. They call it Sea Blue, and I find that a little concerning because you wouldn't want to see that reflection on your surface of your paint. It almost looks like an oil slick, and I don't know what's going on there, but that's not typical. Then we've got Indigo, which is a lovely color. That is a mix of PB19, PB15, and PBK6. Then we have Cobalt. Actually did use that in some of the shadows there. So it's not a color I typically would go for, but it worked great, actually. It's kind of like Payne's Gray, really. Then we've got Turquoise Light, which no qualms there. I like that. Looking on the black, I'm not seeing any chalky grit. It's a beautiful color. It uses PB36. It's really nice. It's pretty. I like it. Down here we got Permanent Green. That's a mix of PG36, which is Phthalo Blue Yellow shade, PY3, which is our Phthalo Yellow, and PY74, which is more of a cooler green, I believe. And there you have it. I don't know if this really needs to be here. It would be one you'd easily be able to mix. But there you have it. Then we have Emerald Green Light, which is just a Phthalo Blue Yellow shade. Then we've got Hooker's Green Brilliant, which I wasn't crazy about that color, but then as I was using it here, I really loved it. So, prove me wrong. That's why I was like, I don't know. But as soon as I did a floral with this set, I really liked it. So I will say that. So maybe if you're a floral painter, you're really going to love this. But if you're not a floral painter and you're not going to paint flowers with this, you may be disappointed. And then we have that's a beautiful olive green, which is mislabeled, I would say, because here they're just saying it's PG36, but I don't think that can be true, because PG36 looks like that anytime I've ever seen it. So I'm guessing they're missing like an orange or yellow pigment in there. Then we have this color, which is probably the biggest disappointment of the set, Yellow Sienna Deep, which is PY42. But it's not as good as a raw sienna or a yellow ochre, in my opinion, for a set here, and it's just so weak and difficult to re-wet, and it's almost just kind of like a non-color. I did use it a bit here in the little centers with some of the other browns, so it worked fine. Maybe you want a really subtle brown for like doing the edges of dead petals. I don't know, and that's the thing. That's why I had to do a floral with it. Like I said, it worked good in the painting, but I was just really wishing for a yellow ochre. I was like taking some of that and mixing with some brown. I was just kind of really struggling without a yellow ochre. But anyway, I mean, it did work fine in the painting. So I don't know. Is it a situation where I've painted a lot of flowers, I can make it work? Or is it a situation where these paints are great for florals? Or is it a situation, I don't know. And then we've got our browns, and these are all PBR7 browns. I wish there was more variety, and I wish they were stronger because, quite frankly, just a nice rich burnt sienna, a nice rich burnt umber. I mean, you can always add water and thin it down. I don't know. I found the browns to be a little disappointing, and this is a cotton paper swatch, and there you can see them. They're just not. I don't know, not my cup of tea. And what did I do with I had that other little paper swatch I did on cotton for my to live in my tin. I might have put it back in the tin. Let me check. No, I didn't, because the tin is open. How many swatches can I lose today? Well, I'm sure we will see it again in our travels. Oh, good grief. But so, oh, it's right here. Duh, it's right here. So there are the browns there. This is also a cotton paper. That's a beautiful olive green. It definitely is not PG 36 alone, though. So the colors here, this is another swatch on cotton paper. The colors are pretty. They're pretty, they're vibrant. You can see how much that is granulating, but you know, it looks like a pretty granulation here, but honestly, I was thinking it looked quite scaly and chalky when I was looking at it on other paper. And that's kind of giving me, it's giving me student grade paint vibes. And I don't like it when I see a brand that's always done such a good job at bringing quality and value for a low price. I don't like it when I start to see things slip a little bit. And I will show you that color in the old set is right here. And there's no grit. I mean, you can see a little bit of granulation, but it's much stronger and not that scaliness, not to that level. And so although it was really pretty on my final painting, I think that's going to be really dependent on what you're using for paper. And I feel like good paint should work well on most papers, you know. So let's look at the other things that I painted with this set. I did this with the older song set because I was like, am I just misremembering how strong the browns were? And so I did these two with the old song set, which I have here. I put them in this original Paul Rubens tin because I thought the pink was so pretty for florals. And these paints are beautiful. And they've rewet so well after 5 years. I probably haven't used them in that long because, you know, you have your favorites and stuff is always coming along. Look how good that granulated. Yeah, and then I had taken my original Paul Rubens and I put them in this palette, and I use this a lot. It's upstairs on my fun art desk. I don't use it in videos too often. And then I have some Daniel Smith sticks in here because I find that the original Paul Rubens set of 24 works so well when you mix it with a few Daniel Smith Primatech colors. It's a great combination. They have a very complementary vibe to them. So I did some paintings with the old Paul Rubens set of 24 while I was at it because it's World Watercolor Month, so I'm painting a lot. And we'll compare that again. Like these were done with the old Paul Rubens, and that had some Mosh's watercolor in it, that had some Daniel Smith in it, but mostly Paul Rubens. This was done with the new floral pan set, the set that I'm reviewing today. And it worked well for this because lots of bright colors. But it's, you know, just kind of bright. They almost look kind of flat, but I also thought it was kind of this illustration. This, I really wanted to work it kind of like loose and wet and see what happened. I did add some dabs of white gouache into the wet paint. Looked really well. It worked good. I think I might have had to grab a little yellow ochre. Did I? Actually, I'm not even sure. I might have grabbed some yellow ochre from the other set because I had both of the palettes out at that time. These were both done with the new Paul Rubens colors. Very bright colors, very candy colors, if you like that sort of thing. But it took me a while to find my groove with this paint, and I don't feel like I should need that much, and not to say that I'm the best painter, I'm not saying that at all, but I don't feel like I should need that much time to find my groove with a set, especially when it's a line of paint that I've used for so long. But I mean, it gets the job done. The colors are vibrant, they're pretty, but for some reason, I mean, I do love how this came out, and I really enjoy painting this. So I'd say if you like to paint this style of flowers, you're probably going to love that set. If not, if you like to paint other things like I was showing you, you are probably going to do better finding one of their other sets. So let's compare, because, and I'll give you my final recommendations, because I did like painting flowers with that new set, but I don't think it's the best bang for your Paul Rubens buck. And especially with Prime Day coming up, and they're going to be putting everything on sale, they said, or they're going to have a lot of really good specials. I figured you're going to have a lot of options to choose from. They always discount their newest product, and that new palette I think had like a $4 off coupon or something, and it was like $41 or something. So it's not a very expensive set of watercolors either. So is it fair for me to be comparing it with sets that would be $125, like Daniel Smith's set of 24 or Winsor Newton's set of 24? Not exactly, but I'm kind of comparing against itself. So this is a set of 48 half pans. I did buy this with my own money, I think like a couple of years ago on Prime Day. And the reason I like this set is that the earth tones are nice and strong. You've got a really nice variety of color. You have a good mix between your sheer, transparent, staining colors and your granulating, mineral-based colors, so you can get that variety of looks. You can get that variety of texture in your work. It's a beautiful set, and it's a great all-around set. And that's probably going to be the next one I move upstairs to my fun art desk, because I cycle them around. I just like to have an all-around set up there, because I'm just, you know, painting out on the deck. I just want something that's going to do good for most things. You got some granulators. You got the cadmium red that's going to granulate. You've got your ultramarine. You've got your cobalt green or turquoise deep. You've got your turquoise light. You've got a nice variety. You've got a cerulean blue there. It's just a really nice all-around set. That would probably be my top recommendation, just because it goes on pretty good sales on Prime Day. I think I paid about $68 for this set, but I just saw it the other day for $65 with a sketchbook, so who knows what it's going to be on Prime Day. You had to be a Prime member to get that price, so just kind of keep that in mind if you're shopping. But yeah, they had some they've had good deals on this set, and I definitely think it's totally worth money. They even have a nickel titanate yellow, which you don't see the nickel titanate yellow much, and that's a granulating yellow. Just hard to see because of how pale it is. That's a great combination. Look at the tree green, look the olive. That you've got all of the really good colors. You don't have that bright pink. You don't have that opera pink, but you definitely have a good assortment of pinks. Now let's look at the original set of 24. Which is right here and right here. This is also a really good set, and I use this a lot. So this is kind of the one, it was the first Paul Rubens set I ever used, and is the one I probably use the most because it tends to live upstairs on my fun art desk, and I have a few other colors I've added to it, so to make it even more versatile. But again, strong earth tones. So I'm presuming that the earth tones are still strong in these newer sets. I hope they are. I hope they haven't changed anything in the older sets. But and this set, beautiful yellow ochre. These are all the things that I need for a daily palette. It's more than I need for a daily palette. So I would recommend the original set of 24 over that. Now let's look at the set of... they've come up with a couple other 24 sets. Most recently, we've got the Series 4. It would come in a palette kind of like this, but it was kind of like textured. It was called the Gemstone palette. This was their Series 4 watercolors, and I didn't like these as much. They still were nice. The palette was nicer that they came in, but I still preferred the original Paul Rubens pans to these, and I prefer the Paul Rubens artist grade tubes to their pans, but it just depends on what you like, honestly. But I mean, I felt like the colors were getting a little bit more opaque here, like maybe they had some fillers in them. That cobalt violet was really pretty though. But overall, I did not like these as much, because you can kind of see, and this is why I keep consistency between my swatches, even compared to the new, this is like a first generation paint, the floral set, even compared to that, these are much more sheer. Those look a little bit more soupy. And I think they've got some more fillers in them. So I don't think the Series 4 is as good as their original Paul Rubens series. And then we have the newest series of watercolors. It's called the Yulan series, and it's the one that has the like a tiger striped tin. These I found to be more sheer, a little bit more like their original ones, maybe a little bit more easy to re-wet. But I didn't find as much variety in texture, although you do have a cobalt green and you do have an ultramarine blue. they're thicker. They feel more Eastern to me versus like the more sheer Western watercolor, I guess. You know, because I can clearly see the color on a lot of these, the black swatches, and I've got a little bit of a shine. So I didn't like these as much as the original Paul Rubens pans either. They're strong though. They're strong. They're pretty consistent. There's nothing wrong with them, but I personally don't like them as much as the tubes or the original 24 pan. Especially as I'm comparing everything right now. My favorite Paul Rubens paints are the I believe they're called the 5th generation tubes, or maybe it's 4th generation tubes, but they're the tubes that come in a 24 set or a 36 set, and they're tiny little 5 ml tubes. But those are just gorgeous. With this set here, the 36 set, you get a variety of colors. You also get a variety of textures. So like you have this Indian red that is a mix of PR101 and PR206, beautiful granulation. You've got a cobalt turquoise, which they say it's PB28, which is weird that it's PB28 in that green, but I have a Turner tube that's like that. And then I have a Lucas tube that's at Pigment, but it is not good. They changed it from their old one. It's very chalky. But I did like this set quite a bit. Rewet very well, dried down in pans very well. To me, this is probably their most premium watercolor set that they offer, and it'll probably be on sale. I don't know if they still offer the 36 set, but they do offer the 24 set anyway. And I don't know what it is with them coming out with some of these sets, and they sell like hotcakes. They're gone in like a week, and then they never restock them. I don't know why that happens. Maybe they're too expensive to restock. I don't know, but that was my favorite set. And this set you can no longer get, but I also really like this one because it's so transparent, and the colors are so rich. It's got like a sparkle to them. It's their phosphorescent set. I don't know why they call it phosphorescent, but I loved this set, but it didn't stay around long, and I haven't seen it since. Now they have paper with that like subtle glitter in it, but these were really nice to paint with, and the effect you would see if you were holding it in the sun, but otherwise it didn't mess up anything that you were painting with it. It was just kind of a fun effect, and I really loved that set from them, but sadly, RIP, it's no longer around. So, do I recommend the new Paul Rubens watercolor set? I have to say, I recommend it. I think the price is good, but I don't recommend it as much as some of their other sets. But that could just be my personal preference. I'll take another look at the artwork that I did with it. It's fine. It's fine. The artwork I did is fine, but I don't think that I was helped by that paint, and in a couple instances I actually was hindered by the paint because there's no yellow ochre. It's just a color, I'm so reliant on it. And even though you have a variety of textures in the paints, I didn't find that painting with it had that little spark that some sets seem to have. And that's why I did so many paintings with it. I'm like, I want to find that spark in it, that maybe I'm just missing something. Maybe if I was doing a loose watercolor, more like, you know, the brushstroke watercolors, just very loose and freeing and juicy, something like that might be cool with all the granulating colors. But I don't know, those weren't the song colors. You're getting a glimpse at my World Watercolor Month. And then just compare the earth tones to the original tube set of florals that is the same. It's the same colorway and everything. I just didn't find them to be as rich. Having weak earth tones is really tough for me because I do a lot of mixing my own neutrals, and I need a nice strong burnt umber or burnt sienna for that. And plus I love really strong earth tones because I can always make them lighter. A weak earth tone is difficult to deal with. That was something different. But I like the way this came out, and this was really a pleasure to paint. So I would say if you like that color palette and you're painting maybe in this style, I didn't have any issues glazing up. I didn't have any issues wet into wet. I really had no issues with the paint. I don't know, I guess it would just depend on what you like to paint and what kind of paper you're using, and if the color selection is right for you. I think that if it was me and I was going to rebuy any of these sets, I haven't used any of them up, so this is a moot point, but, well, we can just say, what would I spend my money on? The 48 set. I did spend my money on the 48 set. And I think bang for your buck and the variety and the quality of those paints, I think that's going to give you the best bang for your buck. The small tubes, the 5 ml tubes, are more expensive. As I recall, they were the same price as the 48 half pans, and I believe a 5 ml tube, and people will disagree with me, but the amount of pigment you're getting in a 5 ml tube is equivalent to a half pan. If you were to dry it and concentrate it and dry it and see how far it goes, it's, to me, I think they're equivalent. Now these pans are liquid poured. Is that the right ones? The pans seem to be liquid poured. They don't seem to be extruded to me. Maybe I'm wrong. They could be extruded. I don't know. I think they're liquid poured, but I don't find them to wear down exceptionally fast. Maybe faster than a extruded pan. I don't know. I would go with either the 48 half pan set or the 36 or 24 tube set. And I don't know, you can get open stock on AliExpress if you want to try a few colors. I'd probably just buy a small tin if you want to try a few colors. It's going to be way more money to buy a few open stock tubes. So do what you want. Honestly, it's the weak earth tones, the no yellow ochre. How granulating the pink might not be for everybody. Those are my big qualms. Otherwise, and for the price, though, it's not that bad. I don't know. I feel like I'm being really nitpicky about it because I do like this painting. If I had just decided to paint this right out the bat, swatch the color, swatching the colors though, I was getting some. I was having some opinions swatching the colors. I don't know. I would say you've seen the good, you've seen the bad. Take them all, and there we have the Facts of Paul Rubens Floral Watercolor set. I like Paul Rubens, I do. You're probably not going to find a better set outside of Paul Rubens for that price, honestly, for an artist grade paint. But there's too many negatives to not mention. And they offer so many wonderful products. I think there's a situation, so now I'm going to just go off script here a little bit. There's no script. Who am I kidding? I think that in this day and age, how companies grow is by coming out with new products. Not so much selling refills for what they already make. And I think that's because it's a lot easier to sell a set, especially on Amazon, because you sell an individual tube or pan of something, Amazon hits you with so many fees on every individual product you list that companies can't do it. They have to charge so much. But you can sell a set and make a profit on a set, and you don't have to, you can still provide a lot more value. And so if you're not buying refills for all these different things, they've got to keep coming out with new sets and new sets to keep people buying. And if you don't have a hot product on Amazon and you're selling on Amazon as your main thing, then you're just going to fade off into page 10 or whatever and never be seen again. So in order to keep your shop going, you got to come up with new iterations of your sets and new iterations of the paint and new lines of paint and new assortments of paint. And it's nice to have that variety so that you can choose what is right for you. But I think a lot of people end up just, well, I'm going to buy that one too because I like that other one so much, I'll buy this one too. And when there's a lot of overlap, and it might not actually benefit you to buy the extra set. So all I'm saying here is that I like Paul Rubens. The granulating pink is neat. Would I personally purchase this myself for just that color? Or given the other colors I have? Probably not. But that's just me, and that's my opinion. You do whatever you want to do and find the paint that's right for you. And I have to say, I was a smidgen disappointed with this set coming from Paul Rubens. I expected more. But anyway, there you have it. Please give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed my reviews. Thanks for watching, and let me know if you want a tutorial of this flower because I did record it. Until next time, happy crafting. Bye!